Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
The Browns have had a heavy focus so far in free agency in the trenches, right? But what I want to talk about in this video is what the Browns are going to do at wide receiver, what their current roster situation justifies them being able to do at wide receiver, and what their strategies there might be because of, the quarterback situation. And I want to talk about this report from Adam Schefter that I have a lot of thoughts about in regards to Deshaun Watson. So that's what we're going to talk about. But let's start with the wide receiver position because the Browns haven't done anything at wide receiver yet. I think if they do anything at wide receiver, it will probably be a trade. The wide receiver free agent market has not been one that the Browns have been eager to jump into. A lot of mid-level guys getting top-level money. So they're probably going to want to make a trade. For me, if you're asking me what name I would want, not necessarily what name I think the Browns are going to go after, Marvin Mims has been an interesting one for me. I think he's been underutilized in Denver and mischaracterized in Denver. They haven't really put him into positions I think he should be in to be successful. I think because of his size, people kind of slot him into a gadget receiver or a slot guy. But I think he can play on the outside. I think he can be a good 50-50 ball guy, contested catch guy, and I think he can be a home run hitter for an offense because he's done that consistently, even with Denver giving him limited opportunities. So like a young prospect like a Marvin Mims, who you can sign, who you can trade for. He's in the last year of his rookie deal. You can give him an extension, maybe around like $17 to $18 million over the next 3 years to lock him into a cheap rate. I think that can make a lot of sense for Cleveland, but that's kind of the wide receiver solution that they're probably looking at. The Browns aren't going to go all in on a big name solution at wide receiver, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to trade for A.J. Brown or something ridiculous like that. They're just not in that point of their build. They don't know who's going to be throwing the ball to these wide receivers, right? Like, despite what you hear, there's a lot of question about who's going to be the starting quarterback this year. And we got to be honest about the quarterback room situation. As of right now, unless somebody in that room showcases dramatic development over the summer, there's not enough in that room to think that you're going to be able to utilize a ton of talent at wide receiver. Like, it just feels like it's not really a high priority. The higher priority for this team is probably to get the run game where they want the run game to be. Because if you look at what the Browns have and what they don't have, they have the pieces on offense to get about 3,500 passing yards and receiving yards combined as a team. Like, that's what between Jerry Jeudy, between all the wide receivers they have, and Harold Fannin, they have enough on that roster to get about 3,500 yards of production. And that's not great. That's not a good number. But if you look at that quarterback room, they got a quarterback room that's probably good for about 3,500 yards of production, passing wise. So there's not really a deficit there of what they're capable of at the quarterback position and what they're capable of at wide receiver. It really doesn't make too much sense to spend a bunch of money at wide receiver. Like, I get the idea with some people is that you want to like weaken and burnish your quarterback, which is to essentially say like put your quarterback on puppet strings and put enough around him to where you can make a quarterback better than he is. But that's just not how that position works, man. Like, you got to be at a baseline of proficiency at the quarterback position to get a high level of utilization out of wide receivers. And right now, over the last few years, none of those quarterbacks in that quarterback room has proven that they're that, right? Deshaun Watson certainly hasn't proven it. Shedeur Sanders has not proven it. Dylan Gabriel certainly has not proven it. So spending a bunch of money at wide receiver right now, I don't know if the Browns are going to be willing to do that if they don't really have a great idea of what their quarterback future is going to look like. And I don't think this quarterback room is really insightful to that quarterback future. So, maybe they don't go as aggressive at wide receiver here. Maybe they make a mid-level move here. But I don't foresee them being super aggressive. I think they're focusing on building the run game because they know they have all the pieces to have a good run game. They have a running back that they believe in that could be a franchise bell cow guy in Quincy Judkins. They really like Dylan Sampson. They like some of the running backs they have behind both of those guys. And if they invest in the offensive line, become a better run blocking team, which, by the way, if you look at all the guys they brought in, the run blockers, except for like Titus Howard, who plays tackle, but tackles aren't usually like the most important thing when it comes to your run blocking. But if you look at the guards, they've utilized run blocking, right? Tevin Jenkins. You look at what Zion Johnson is good at, and it's run blocking, right? So they focused on the run blocking. They focused on that. I think that's because they're building this team through the run game, which makes sense, right? A lot of what the Browns have, a great tight end, some good running backs. That sounds like running the ball a lot, right? Because you can use the tight end to offset some of the run game stuff, and then you focus on the run game that way. So I think they're going to focus on the run game, run the ball a ton this year. That seems to be where everything's pointing. That seems to be the most obvious place to point those resources if you're Cleveland. Spending a bunch of money in the passing game when you're going to probably be trying to limit passing attempts to 30 just doesn't make the most sense in the world, right? You're already not going to have the most production there if you're putting a bunch of resources into a part of the game that you hope to limit to maybe 40 to 45% of the offense. That doesn't really make sense, right? I think they're going to invest in that offensive line, see what they have in quarterback this year with a better offensive line. And if something calls for expansion at the quarterback position, let's say Shedeur takes the starting job and he's amazing, or, you trade for Anthony Richardson and he takes the starting job and he's amazing. Then at the trade deadline, you can reassess and maybe make a trade for a wide receiver and decide to get more invested at the position, once you start to feel better about what you have at quarterback. But if your plan right now is to try to just minimize the quarterback position as much as possible, that probably doesn't include spending a ton of money at wide receiver right now. We'll see what happens, but let's talk about this Adam Schefter thing. I'm going to play this clip from the Pat McAfee show in full, and then we're going to talk about it.
What's Cleveland doing?
Cleveland.
Okay, Shedeur Sanders.
Pro Bowler.
They have Deshaun Watson. And
right.
by the way, let me say this. There are people out there, and we'll see how it unfolds, but there are people out there who believe that Deshaun Watson could very well be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
I saw him doing running back drills.
He's getting
I saw
paid.
him doing
He's
running back
fast.
drills.
He's getting paid.
He's definitely getting paid, and I do appreciate the fact that he's like, you know what, I will give this thing a go again. That's paying me $230 million guaranteed. Let's go ahead and try this out. Because at one point when Deshaun Watson was playing good football, bull. It was awesome football to watch.
Yeah.
We were down there in the AFC South watching when he was with the Texans. There was a time where J.J. Watt was walking off the field after the last game of the season, and he looks at Deshaun Watson. He goes, "So sorry we wasted one of your years, man." There was a time where this guy was being described as the Michael Jordan of football.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, a lot happened. Lot happened off the field. A lot happened on the field. It was a very long, dramatic, very serious and intense stuff that took place. So mentally, was he ever going to be able to get back to being a quarterback, especially whenever you're sitting on super satin sheets, the most satin sheets in the history of NFL with your fully $230 million guarantee? Will you ever be able to get back to that? We hadn't seen it. We hadn't seen it. We didn't expect it. That would have been the mental toughness level to be able to get back to being elite QB while getting paid as much as you have without playing for as long as you had, and with all the work that it takes, especially going to a different. It's like, I thought that was going to be tough to see him play football after he took that long off. But maybe he's hit a point in life. One last go here. One last time to lead a team. And the Cleveland Browns are a place that do not have a set-up quarterback. So maybe he is able to rewrite the end of his football story, his football life. And maybe that happens with the Cleveland Browns.
All right, man, I mean no disrespect to Adam Schefter or Pat McAfee when I say this, because it's going to sound disrespectful, because it's very blunt, straightforward, and it might sound rude. And I apologize in advance. I truly don't mean any disrespect to them. I have respect for the work that these guys have done and the careers that these guys have had. But, do we not hear how stupid all of this sounds? Do we not hear this? Am I the only one who hears how stupid this sounds? You know what I mean? Like, first off, let's talk about the Adam Schefter part of this. Adam Schefter said, there are people, and this is the exact quote, and I think the exact quote is important because, like, we need to parse the words out of what he said and what he didn't say, because I think that's important. There are people who believe Deshaun Watson is going to be a starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns on opening day. Notice that he did not say there are people in Cleveland who believe that Deshaun Watson is going to be a starting quarterback. There are people in that building in Cleveland who believe that Deshaun Watson is going to be a starting quarterback. That there are people close to the Cleveland Browns organization that believe. You notice he did not say those things. And look, if you've gone through enough beat reporter or national reporter scoops in your life, and you've ever read those articles enough, you know that those words would absolutely be used if he was using sourced information that he found credible from the organization himself. No, that's not what he said. He said, there are people out there who believe that Deshaun Watson is going to be the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns on opening day, which is a worthless statement. There are people out there who believe, I'm sure Deshaun Watson believes that he's going to be the starting quarterback on opening day. Does it mean a single goddamn thing? No, I'm sure Deshaun's mom thinks he's going to start. That don't mean nothing, right? Like, who are the people? What is their connection to this story? It's interesting that he left that detail out. And you could say I'm parsing words here and I'm being too specific, but the reality is that this is the world that Adam Schefter lives in. He lives in the world of being super specific about these words and how he phrases things, because it's really important to how he's doing his job. And he left those words out for a reason. It's not a mistake. It's not just him just cutting things out. He didn't say people in Cleveland. He didn't say people in the building. He didn't say people close. No, he said there are people out there, which is a worthless statement. There are people out there that think that I might grow to 6'5" and get a $25 million a year contract to the Cleveland Browns to play quarterback, because I think that's going to happen, right? Doesn't mean jack shit about it happening. That's one, right? Two, Pat McAfee's analysis of this. Like, okay, basically what he's saying is Deshaun Watson, at one point was really good. And I don't know, maybe he could be good again. And I get that, if this were a normal situation. But guys, this is not a normal situation for Deshaun Watson. We are not going through the context enough with it. I've talked about it a ton over the last few weeks. So I'll just give you guys the spark notes about this. Deshaun Watson, since 2023, has had 2 throwing shoulder injuries. The second throwing shoulder injury ended his season in 2023. When he came back to play in 2024, it did not just look like he was physically diminished from an arm talent standpoint. His ability to run the football also was diminished. So on top of his throwing shoulder stuff in 2024, it looked like some of the lower extremity injuries that he built up over the years, right? The 2 ACL tears that he had early in his career in college and in the NFL, looked like that was starting to catch up with him because he looked physically slower. He didn't look like the same athletic Deshaun Watson that he was even in 2022, in 2024. So there was a significant slowdown in his athletic ability and a significant drop-off in his ability to throw the football after coming back off of the broken throwing shoulder in 2024. And let's note that that's an injury that people say the damage sustained after you recover is pretty permanent. It doesn't just come back, like an ACL or something like that. And even with the ACL, over time, it's going to have its damage show, which we start to see in 2024. Keep in mind that, they talked about in that video, Deshaun Watson had struggled to come back from a 700-day layoff. Well, if Deshaun Watson is the opening day starter this year, he would have missed 691 days between starts from when he tore his Achilles the first time to when he would play again. So he's coming off another 700-day or close to 700-day layoff. What's that going to do to his play that was already significantly degraded? Like, we saw the drop off from the first 700-day layoff that took Deshaun Watson from being everything that Pat McAfee said, right? The face of the league. Dabo Swinney was calling him Michael Jordan, to one of the more underwhelming quarterbacks in the NFL after a 700-day layoff. What do you think the next 700-day layoff is going to do to him when he's not coming from being a superstar, but more or less coming from being the worst quarterback when it comes with the second worst quarterback when it came to success rate in 2024? What is he going to drop to exactly after another 700 days off and 2 Achilles tears? He was barely playing NFL acceptable football when he was in Cleveland in 2024. And you can make the argument that he wasn't playing acceptable NFL quality football at some points in 2024, because he had a success rate that was only beaten, a success rate so low in 2024 that the only guy who had a lower success rate than him is Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson is playing football in the spring now. Deshaun Watson was barely above him. And now you're coming off of 2 Achilles tears and 700 days off. We saw how much his play degraded the first 700 days off, and that had nothing to do with injury. How much is that play going to degrade after another 700 days off that has to do with 2 of the most devastating injuries that you can have back to back? The idea that Deshaun's going to start week 1 is absurd. It's absurd. We have to see what he looks like in OTAs before we can even factor him into a quarterback competition. As it stands right now, we are far away from taking Deshaun Watson seriously as a guy in the quarterback competition, let alone somebody you can pencil in as the week 1 starter right now. The people who are telling Adam Schefter that, Deshaun might start, those are the people who've been telling us bullshit about Deshaun Watson for 3 fucking years now. I'm so tired of every single offseason we get sold these tales of Deshaun Watson, and then we get to the regular season and what it looked like. Remember everything they was telling us before 2024? Deshaun's got his offense. You're hearing people close to Deshaun Watson saying he's going to have a big year, and then you see what he looks like. He looked terrible. Then 2025 rolls around. He's coming back from his Achilles. People in the national media trying to sell you on the idea that Deshaun Watson going to be back to compete for the starting job in camp. Remember that big load of bullshit that they dropped on us around this time last year? And now I'm supposed to believe a year later, Deshaun's going to be factored in to start? Please look at what he's coming back from, and look at how much it affected his career when he came back from some of this stuff earlier in his career, and look at where his career was before he got injured and where it could be after. I know it's popular to say, Kevin Stefanski is the reason he didn't look good. Bullshit. Bullshit. If he were a starting quality quarterback, he would have looked better than he did in 2024. Right? He wasn't good. It wasn't even close to good. It was the second worst success rate in the NFL. And the only guy lower than him is playing football in the spring right now. There are guys above him on that list in 2024 that are playing football in the spring. He was playing spring quarterback quality football in 2024. And now, after 700 days off, when we saw what the first 700 days did to his play, and 2 Achilles tears, and he's still coming back from that throwing shoulder injury that seemed to drop his ability to throw the football, I'm supposed to believe that he's going to win a quarterback competition versus even Shedeur Sanders? It's complete bullshit. I'll believe it when I see it. If not Dion, but if Deshaun Watson comes back and he looks amazing after all of this, I will be the first to tell you I didn't see it coming. Right? I didn't see it coming at all. But everything I could read from this situation tells me that people are making it seem like Deshaun Watson has a better chance to be the starting quarterback than it actually is. And when Adam Schefter is not saying, and when Adam Schefter is out here putting in his report that there are people out there who believe, but he's not saying people in Cleveland, he's not saying people in the building, people close to, people all, the stuff that they usually say when they actually have a source, it just tells me he probably heard this from one of Deshaun Watson's cronies, And we know their reputation for bullshit over the last 4 years here in Cleveland, you know? But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.